So we're just going to talk about moving away from geometry and talk about some things that have to do with economics. It's not going to be a pro or a con if you're a senior who's in economics or senior who hasn't taken economics till next semester, or if you're a junior. It's not going to matter. Okay, I'm not expecting you to know a lot of things about economics, just a few basic things. All right, so before we do that, let's make sure we understand how to do an algebraic question. All right, so we have two non-negative numbers. Okay, so non-negative means, can it be 0? Yes, 0 is not negative or positive. Have a sum of 20. Okay, find their maximum product. All right, so we have two numbers. We have our first number, and we have our second number. All right, we don't know the value of the first number, except that the lowest it could be is what? 0. And the highest that it could be is 20, okay? So we don't know what it is, so we'll logically just call it, when we don't know what something is, we name it X, okay? How do you name the second number then?
Y?
No.
Oh, 20 minus X.
Very good. It's what's left. It can't be more than 20. 20 is the most it could be. And so if you've already used up X for your first number, then, so suppose you used up 2, then the other number has to be 18. Suppose you used up 7, then the other number has to be 13. So we name it according to what we know about the 20. Now our goal is what? Maximum of the product. So that's where the y comes in. So y is the product of x times 20 minus x. That is the product. And now you can solve this by hand, or you can solve this using your graphing calculator. I would argue that by hand is not too bad. Okay, this is 20x minus x squared. So if I do y prime, then the derivative is 20 minus 2x. And if I set that equal to 0, then what's the solution for x? 10. Now how do I know if that's going to give me a max or a min? Okay, so I could plug in, say, 9 and 11. I could do that. Okay, I could do that. I could plug it into the 9 and 11 and see if it's changing from a plus to a minus. That would be one way. What's another way? Check concavity. What's the second derivative? -2, which means it's always concave down. If it's always concave down, then this has to be a max because it's sitting. So you can prove a max a couple different ways. Okay. So if x is the first number and x is 10, then what is the second number? Also has to be 10. All right, so in this situation, two unknown negative numbers are both 10. They have a sum of 20 and they will produce a maximum product. Have we answered the question of what the maximum product is? Okay, the maximum product is 10 times 10, which is 100. So make sure you answer the question. Bella, was that what you put on your homework? Somebody put that on their homework. Like, I keep forgetting to go back and,
I just like
do the math, but then forget to answer the question. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's talk about some economics terms. Okay. Now, in economics, you want your profit to be positive. Do you guys know the expression for when you have positive profit? The color that's associated with that? No. They usually say, hey, we're in the black. Okay, if you have positive profit. Okay? And then if you have negative profit, what do they call that? In the red. Ooh, my company's in the red, not doing so well. Okay, to find profit, it's a simple subtraction. The word is difference, so that means we're subtracting two things. So profit is the difference between revenue and cost. So the equation is that P is always R minus C. Okay, revenue is the dollar amount that you might be bringing in. It's not the same as profit. Well, when's the only time profit and revenue would be equal to each other? In the equation, when the only time is product and revenue going to be equal? If cost is 0. Okay, when would you ever have cost be 0? if you got people to donate stuff to you or something, and then you had no cost. But usually there's some cost involved, okay? I always think about bake sales, and people are like, oh, can your parents donate, stuff for a bake sale? And I'm thinking, well, that's fine but then who's paying for the stuff for the bake sale then? The parent, right? You still got to buy the stuff. You still got to go out. So there's a cost to somebody. All right, suppose that your revenue is defined by the simple equation 9x. We're going with simple ones right now. And the cost is defined as a cubic equation. Notice that revenue is what kind of equation? Okay, so the revenue is always going in what direction? Okay, and then cost is what kind of equation? Cubic. So the cost is sometimes going up, but sometimes going down, and sometimes going back up again, and it might even cross over your revenue line, because cubics eventually will cross that. Okay, so what X should you do to make the most profit for your company? That is key. If you're a good business person, you want to find, making more isn't always better. There's going to be a key number that is going to maximize your profit. So the goal is max profit, which means I need to come up with an equation for the profit P. So what's my equation going to start with?
P minus C.
Okay, so what's my equation going to start with?
P equals 9x.
9x, okay, minus quantity x cubed minus 6x squared plus 15x. And then so that's it. That's the algebra. You're done with that. The rest is going to be all calculus to find P prime. And you can do P prime by hand, or you can do P prime by n deriv. It's totally up to you. I'm going to pause the recording a minute and give you about 3 minutes to either do P prime by hand or set up P prime on your calculator and do it as an n deriv and see if you can find the x value that would be the maximum. All right, so here are the choices. There were 2 answers. If you're looking at the graph, there were 2. But again, we got to know which one is the goal. All right, and because if you're going to be in business, you want to make sure you're picking the right one. Okay, this would be the minimum, and this is going to be the maximum. All right, so make sure as you're the owner of your business that you're telling your employees to make the right one. Yeah.
When you're giving the answer, should it be like 3,414?
Okay, very good. Yes. So when we answer the question now, is there a production level that would maximize the profit? If so, what is it? And yes, the units on here are thousands of units. So the production level would be answered like this. The max, I should say, production level is, okay, multiply that by 1,000, so 3,414 units of whatever this is, for a profit of, okay, and then this is Bella where you were asking the question, okay, now take your 3.414, take that value, put it back into your profit equation, okay, not into P prime. If you put it into P prime, you're just going to get 0. Okay, you want to put it back into the profit equation. So I usually store that value in my calculator so that I've got it stored, and then I put it back in my value, and I get 9.657, which is going to be $9,657. Okay, any questions on that? So you understand where profit, the equation of profit comes from. All right, there's one other equation you're going to need to know. This is our last example. It's the definition of average cost. Okay, we have average rate of change we've talked about before, but we have what is the average cost function. Okay, the word here is ratio. If the word before was difference, and difference means subtraction, what does the word ratio mean? Okay, it's a fraction. And so the average cost function is the ratio between C of x and regular x. Okay, that is the ratio. And that is equal to the average cost. And the symbol for average cost, we've already used prime. Okay, prime means something different. Okay, the symbol is C with a bar over it. They call that C bar. Do you remember from a previous chapter what C prime means?
The derivative of C.
Yeah, but it was a special word we used for derivative in economics.
Oh, like marginal?
Marginal, yeah, it was the word marginal that means it. So there's different, you've got C of X is cost. You have C prime of X is marginal cost. Okay, and then you have C bar of X, which is average cost, just so you know what those are. So you start with your regular cost function. If you want to find marginal, you take the derivative. If you want to do C bar, you take C and divide it by X. Okay, those are the different things. Remember, cost looks to the past. What was my cost previously? Where does marginal look to? Marginal looks to the future. What will my cost of the next item be if I choose to move ahead? And then average cost is what is my again, looking to the past, what is my average cost for 1 unit? Okay, so suppose you have the same equations, X again measured in thousands. Is there a production level that minimizes your average cost? So a good boss, maximum profit, but minimum average cost is what you're gonna want. That's the good business model. And so we want to minimize our average cost. So we need to come up with a C bar equation, which is the cost equation, x cubed minus 6x squared plus 15x, and the ratio of that to x. Now what do the entire numerator have in common? An x. So what could I do with that? Factor it out. And then what would happen with the x in the denominator? It would reduce. So I'd be left with x squared minus 6x plus 15. Okay, that's the equation for C bar. That does not answer the question of the minimum of the average cost. So now if we want the minimum of C bar, what do we have to do to the equation we just got for C bar? Take the derivative of that. Okay, and the derivative of that would be simply 2x minus 6. And that I think I can do by hand. Set that equal to 0, and I get x is 3. Now, how do I know if that's for sure going to be a minimum? Okay, I can do the derivative of that. And the derivative of that would be 2, which is positive concavity. So since C bar double prime of x is 2, which is 0, greater than 0, the C bar has positive concavity. So x equals 3 is guaranteed to be a minimum. Okay, remember, it's not just 3, it's 3 what? 3,000 units. Okay, so it's not just 3. And then have we answered the question? No, we want the minimum average cost. So we take that number 3, plug it back into the minimum average cost. I'm going to get, looks like 9 minus negative 8, I get 7, I think. Okay, that would be 7,000 is my minimum cost.